There we go. I've started as well.
Alrighty. Welcome back to the Sense of Life podcast. My name is Cody.
And I'm Joe.
And we are back to finish our discussion last week of the Antoine Doinel cycle of Francois Truffaut films. This week with 1970's Bed and Board and 1979's Love on the Run. Since our last recording, I made another guest appearance on the Rare Candy podcast. I talked with Glenn and Cy and another guest, Matt Fresta, who edits this magazine Rango Tango. He came from Down Under to discuss Solaris by Stanislaw Lem and the Andrei Tarkovsky film with us. We talked for about 2 hours. It was really fun. It is on the Rare Candy Substack, so you have to subscribe for $5. I think they have a free trial running. So if you want to hear me on the Hell House and the Solaris Gain of Fiction episodes over there, check that out. And that's the main thing about that kind of housekeeping. And did you want to say anything before we just jump into it?
No, I figure we're going to put a link in the description to that, maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
On the YouTube video.
Yeah, we can do that.
You want to send me that?
Yeah, I'll send it to you after we finish recording here.
Cool.
All right.
Finishing off the story of Antoine Doinel.
Yep.
And it's more of the same. He doesn't know what he's doing, and struggles to maintain a healthy relationship with his wife,
and anyone for that matter,
and anyone. I guess so. It's kind of getting a little dry there at that point. It's like, okay, what is Antoine up to? He's fucking up. Okay.
Yeah.
He's fucking up some more. And that's basically it. I don't know how much I have to say about these two films, if I'm being honest.
I gather you weren't the biggest fan of these two.
Not particular. I maybe it's just not my kind of movie, I guess. I mean, I understand like the appreciation of like the cinematic techniques that went into making it, because Truffaut is a really good director. But like, there was nothing that particularly like grabbed me, that was like holding me to the story. But I mean I think that's just an issue of not my cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wouldn't say that they were bad movies by any metric or anything like that. I just think it was not my kind of thing.
Yeah, that'll happen when I just suggest something that pretty much everything that we've watched on this show I have not seen before I've watched it.
Right.
So I'm just like, hey, this looks cool. Let's watch it.
Yeah, we've committed to a 4 1/5 film. Fucking saga.
Yeah, and well, it's done. I really liked these two movies. I think maybe the critical thing I have to say about them is they are rather forgettable.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be talking more about the feeling I got from them than exactly what happened to them. Because again, like you said, it's more of the same. It's the thing about this kind of series is that it's basically the same movie each time.
Yeah.
You just change what characters he has a toxic relationship with and how they build together or tear each other apart or move on in life.
Yeah, it's Truffaut bringing in a new set of attractive women each movie. Recycling some old ones, because
Yeah.
Colette from Antoine and Colette, the 30-minute short, did come back.
Yes.
Or
She
Love
did.
on the Run. There was actually like a lot of callbacks in Love on the Run to like
Yeah.
random characters from the older movies that I thought was really funny. It was like there was like an MCU coming
Yeah.
together at the end kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh, that's
Yeah.
the guy that Antoine's mom was cheating with. He's here now.
Yeah. There's a lot of like Leo pointing at the screen in Love on the Run. But for some reason, I really liked Love on the Run. I was expecting to hate it because everyone talks about it being like a clip show kind of movie, kind of like Friday the 13th Part 2, like we were talking about off air, I think.
Yeah, I think we actually said that at the very end of the last episode, was that
we might have,
compared it to Friday the 13th Part 2, and how that movie is like, the first 30 minutes is just explaining what happened in the other movie, and then the 30 minutes that follow that are basically the exact same thing again, but with new footage.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Like you didn't need both the flashback explaining everything and then a scene where they're at the campfire explaining everything. You could have just had one of those.
Yeah.
But, I think they actually used the old footage pretty well though in
I think
Love on the Run. Yeah. Like it was sprinkled periodically contextually, where you would recognize, like, especially the ones from the 400 Blows, because like the guy that his mom was like cheating on his dad with, you're not supposed to, like, you would not be able to tell, unless, I guess, maybe unless he was a really famous French actor, but I don't think he would have been if he was just some random background guy in the first movie.
And it was like 20 years before.
Yeah.
20 years ago at this point.
So, like, having the scenes with that guy show up, you're like, oh, you know that? Then you can tell that it's actually the same actor too, but he's just 20 years older now. And I think it used those pretty well, actually. So that wasn't really a complaint I had with that movie, even though I thought it might have been when we were talking about it last week.
And the two big things I noticed with these two are, I remember during Stolen Kisses, there was a point where Truffaut tries to insert this like Hitchcock spy thriller detective thing.
Right, when he becomes like the private detective or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just falls flat. Like it's bad. And it kind of drops it, but it never really, like, maybe it doesn't drop it. It never really goes anywhere. It's like the worst part of that movie. And this is a point. Some
funny montages, but yeah,
there was that. I remember there's a point that Quentin Tarantino makes about Truffaut, about his thrillers, and I think he's talking specifically about his thrillers. The like Hitchcock ones, like The Bride Wore Black, I think is the big one that he talks about, which I have not seen. And that they are like amateurish and like bad, like they're coming from like a film student that really likes Hitchcock, but is like not good enough to be Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And you kind of get that whenever he tries to sprinkle in the Hitchcock elements, especially in Stolen Kisses. And there's a moment in Bed and Board where there's this like kind of subplot of this like child kidnapper, like Fritz Lang M, and it's
the
like
creepy guy that was like walking down the stairs or whatever. And his wife is just like, oh, I don't like the look of that man.
And he appears a couple times, and they mention him, and then it's just like dropped, like totally. It's like
no child is kidnapped to my knowledge in that movie, unless I really spaced out.
It like. I think he makes it. It almost seems like a decision on his part, maybe in like post or something. It's like, I'm not. Yeah, this fucking thriller thing sucks. I'm taking it out. Like,
I like the arcs that he goes through in these movies, where like we were jokingly saying that in Bed and Board he becomes like a fucking he becomes a schizo.
Yeah.
and he's like
Like
got like he's writing his novel or whatever, and he's got the pages
yeah.
all over the place, and we were like, oh, he's writing his manifesto.
Yeah, he becomes like an alt-right Nazi.
But then he finishes the book in Love on the Run, and then you realize it kind of is like a manifesto, because he's not really writing a novel. He's writing like he's just like subtweeting every woman that he fucked up his relationship with. I mean, maybe specifically Colette and his wife.
Colette age mindset. You
know? And then in like Love on the Run, the movie starts off with him cheating on his wife again, naturally, with kind of jumping back and forth between these two movies because they're not really huge on the plot, I guess. He's cheating on his wife with this woman Sabine, but not really. It's like this weird sort of like he's trying to like woo Sabine, but he's like not showing his real emotions. It's very strange plot, but like at the beginning she's like lamenting the fact that he doesn't want to have sex with her or whatever, and he's like going through like his voluntarily celibate arc in that movie, and it's like what the fuck is going on?
Antoine Doinel going through NoFap just on screen,
increasingly looking more and more like a Turning Point USA fan, like as the films go on. It's also really funny because there's like a 9-year gap between Bed and Board and Love on the Run, and he looks exactly the same except for like some 5 o'clock shadow that he has at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. I guess that's probably helpful for an actor.
I guess so, yeah.
Continue to look young.
I also noticed that he's actually still alive. The Jean-Pierre
Léaud,
yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah.
He's like almost 80.
And I was looking at his Letterboxd, and he was in quite a few movies. So.
Right.
A few Godard films. He did some assistant directing on a couple of Godard films, which is pretty interesting. Seems like an interesting guy. The other thing in Love on the Run related to the Hitchcock thing, I think with this one, and I just kind of jotted this down in my Letterboxd review before we started recording, I think he finally figured out how to do the Hitchcock thing, but without it being like, oh, this is a Hitchcock thriller. Yeah. And it's like, no, it's not. This isn't a thriller, and you shouldn't try to make it one. But we're going to insert these like little Hitchcockian like fanboy isms,
and there's definitely a lot of Hitchcock like premises within it, but not like in the sense that you're trying to emulate the suspense of one of his movies, like a thriller. The whole part where he's explaining to Colette the thing about the photograph of Sabine, it's like this guy's yelling at a woman on the phone, and then he rips up this photograph, and then he feels compelled to go in there and pick up all the pieces and piece it together, and he instantly becomes like infatuated with the woman in the picture, and like on the back of it had like the name of the photographer, and this is like actually setting up the way that he even started talking to Sabine in the first place, but they do it like way later in the movie, so it's like it's not linear in any sort of way. I mean, the story is linear, but the explaining of how he got to where he was in the beginning isn't really revealed to the end. Which I thought was neat, because for the most of the runtime of the movie, I didn't think that it needed explaining. I thought he was just like, just doing his thing. But there's like this kind of twist of like how he ended up there that I thought was actually pretty cool. It's a very Hitchcock thing for a guy to like find a random photograph of a woman and piece it together and instantly be like, I'm in love, time to go find her. Because like his whole thing with the obsession in like every one of his movies. But instead of like trying to do Hitchcock, he takes what he likes of Hitchcock and basically steals it. And makes it his own by the end. And I think that was like, by the end of this movie, I was like, oh, okay, that's really cool. Yeah, it's sort of an inversion of Hitchcock in a sense, because like the Hitchcock movie would be the plot of him pursuing finding the woman.
Yes.
But this movie starts off with him having already formed a relationship with her, and then like kind of like coming back around again to like trying to get with her by the end of it, and yeah,
Yeah,
that was
it's
neat.
yeah, I really liked it. That was the part, because that was the part at the end of this movie that like really sold me on the movie.
Right.
And I feel like there was another part of it that I liked. I did like Colette coming back.
And having like this super tragic backstory.
Yeah,
It was like, in the other
by
movie,
her husband or something.
in the other movie, she was like just this girl his age that liked an older guy.
Yeah,
But then in this movie, you kind of get her perspective that like she didn't love him, but he kept trying to make her love him, and he was like getting in good with her parents, and like then they meet all these years later, and all he's talking about is himself, and she's kind of like reaffirming like, yeah, I don't fucking like you.
yeah,
And then there's like this whole thing about how what happened with her and that older guy in that movie, where like they had a kid, and it got like their kid got like run over by a car or something, right? Like that's how he died, or she, I don't know.
yeah, something like that.
All I remember is just the guy carrying the child, and she's like screaming. Their kid died, and there was a kind of a scene where they allude to that, where there was a child on the train that she was on with Antoine that like starts fiddling with the door on the side of the train, and she like grabs the kid and pulls him over and hands him to whoever the father of the kid is, and she's like, don't you aren't you watching your kid? Like, he could have fallen out of the train. And it's kind of like laying the seeds for the reveal later that she had a kid, but her kid died.
Yeah,
and I kind of immediately caught onto that when they revealed that her kid died. I was like, oh, that's why she was. I mean, obviously, if a child almost falls out of a train, you're gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? Watch your kid. But like they kind of give a background reason as to why she was like damn near hysterical about it.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best examples of like, I guess you would call it like post hoc explanation of like character dynamics I've seen.
Right.
In like the quote unquote plot of a film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I really liked the movie. What else?
It's Chekhov's bullet hole. There's a bullet hole in a movie. You have to go back and see the gun that shot.
Yes. It's the Tenet rule.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen Tenet, so.
Oh, it has a lot to do with like going backwards and forward.
I knew it. It was like a wonky with time and stuff like that. So, but I've not actually seen the movie.
It's like retarded, but it's good.
That's the Nolan special, right?
Yeah.
Retarded, but it's awesome.
Like there's even one point when one of the characters explains to the protagonist, who his name in the movie is the protagonist. Really? The doctor or whatever like tries to explain to him how like reverse bullets work, like when they're like fired.
Yeah.
And then literally the character says, "Don't try to understand this," as if like talking to the audience.
That's actually pretty great.
It's pretty funny. But it does give you an idea of what like a Chris Nolan James Bond movie would be like.
Okay.
And I don't think he would ever do a James Bond movie, because I think he's a little bit too like idiosyncratic to like do like Bond, but I think that's probably the closest we would get.
Yeah.
Did you see Oppenheimer?
I still have not seen Oppenheimer. I've seen the end of Oppenheimer with the fucking Linkin Park music edited over it, but I have not seen the actual movie. Like I watched that video, and it was like it kept showing up in my YouTube recommendations, and I kept watching it every time because I was like, "Oh, that meme was really funny. I'm gonna watch it again." And then for like a month straight, it was just always in my recommendations. I would just see Cillian Murphy's face.
What I've done.
I would see Cillian Murphy's face in my recommendations for like a month. I was like, are you kidding me? Oh man,
we gotta figure out how to end one of our episodes like that. The what I've done.
Insane. Another thing that I thought was really cool in, I guess jumping back to a Bed and Board, is the whole that movie starts with him being working for a his job is dyeing carnations with like he would just like put like a dye in the water or whatever, and it would dye the flower, and he there's like he loses this job by accidentally creating some sort of acid that like corrodes the flowers within like a fraction of a second. Or like he puts it in and there's like smoke, and then the camera goes up to like the guy on the balcony that he's talking to all the time, and then by the time the camera's back down, all the flowers are black and like wilted,
charred, basically.
It's like, what the fuck did he do? He made like some sort of like hydrofluoric acid accidentally by combining shit. And I guess like destroying that one batch of flowers ended his career, because he immediately didn't do that ever again. And he starts working for an American company, and it's like that Bed and Board and Stolen Kisses have the only like English lines in any of these movies. And it's actually kind of a crazy like sort of callback in a sense, because he's trying to learn English from he'd bought like a record that was just like random English phrases that he was listening to in Stolen Kisses, and then in Bed and Board he starts working for an American company in Paris. And during the interview process, it's clear that his English is way worse than this like Louisiana dude's French. I don't know if he was from Louisiana. He sounded a bit Southern to me. And he was like pulling out phrases that were specifically ones that you hear him say in the previous movie. So it's like he's really just trying to get by on these, like he's really confident that just saying what the thing told him to say would work, when the other guy could easily comprehend his French way better. It was a pretty funny interview, actually. He like brings him over to the window to show him the little model of like the bay that they were going to build and the boat that he was going to drive around or whatever. And he just comments on like the birds in the sky, and he's like, no, look down there, son. There's kind of an interesting callback as well to how he learned the whole flower dyeing thing from some Japanese person, and then he starts having an affair with this Japanese lady. That is like, I don't even know what she was. Like, was she associated with some other company that was going to be working with the American company that he was working for? Like, I kind of forget how she was introduced into the plot. I think there's a scene where you see some Japanese people like celebrating with the American company's like CEO. So I think she was part of like whatever sort of business deal was going on there. But
I think it just happens at work. And that the model that plays her was like a Parisian model.
She was like
Japanese.
I read her Wikipedia the other day when we were watching the movie. And she was like, some guy like went to Japan. He saw her, and he thought she was really hot, so he like told her to come to France and become a model there, and she just did, I guess. So she was like a and this movie was the only movie she ever did. But I guess she was it says on her Wikipedia she was considered to be one of the first Japanese supermodels. So that kind of like ties into my point earlier about all of the later additions to the Antoine saga being just like a collection of new hot women for Truffaut to film. It's like, we'll get a Japanese supermodel in here.
Next.
And like he has like this sort of this like affair with her, and she writes him like these little love notes, and like
Yeah.
they get rolled up in these flowers. And there's like this really wild scene where his wife finds out that he's been having an affair with this Japanese lady, and there's kind of a cool like stop motion scene.
Yeah,
where,
yeah, it was really cool.
Instead, like to the idea of trying to capture on film all of the notes falling out of all the flowers without stop motion, like that'd be kind of difficult to try and pull off. So they literally just like have this stop motion sequence where all the petals kind of fall to the sides and all the notes fall onto the table. And I thought that was really cool. I like little effect shots like that. And then the next scene, he walks into his house and he sees his wife in yellow face, dressed as a geisha, crying on the floor.
Yeah.
At his infidelity. And we were losing our minds laughing at this. I was like, what the fuck is
absolutely insane shot.
Insane way to inform your husband that you know of his affair is to dress up as the ethnicity of the person he was cheating with.
Yeah. I wonder. Never mind.
So
I'm not going to make that joke.
It was so insane. And like in the scene right before that, he's out to dinner with the Japanese lady, and he keeps going to the phone and like talking about how fucking boring she is, like how he wants to leave. And he's like, she's ordering cheese. She's ordering cheese.
Fromage.
And then he's like, she better not order dessert or I'm gonna kill myself. And then he's walking by the waiter, and he says to the waiter, like the waiter's bringing coffee to their table, and he's just like, bring the check with the coffee. You understand me? Bring the check with the coffee. Like he wants to be able to pay and get the fuck out of there before she orders dessert, because he just wants the evening to be over with. And it's like, it's a pretty consistent problem with this guy, is that like he cheats on his wife or his girlfriend or wherever he is at that particular moment, and then he kind of just gets in his mind. He's like, I don't even fucking like this bitch. I hate her. Like, why? Then why are you doing this?
Yeah. And eventually she leaves the date and leaves him with a note that says like "get fucked" or something.
It says like "drop dead" or something. But it was dead. Yeah. It was written in Japanese, and I only got a glimpse of it, so I don't know if that's actually what it said. Her handwriting was also a little hard to read for someone who's used to just reading text on Duolingo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh damn, I guess Antoine also learned how to read Japanese in his brief like affair with this lady too. And then that scene leads directly into him going home and his wife is dressed like a geisha crying.
Right.
Like, this is a wild way to end a movie. And it's not even really the ending, I guess, because like,
the ending is them outside with the taxi.
Yeah. Pretty funny scene. I don't know how funny it was supposed to be at the time, or if it was intended to be funny, but just seeing a French lady dressed up as a geisha was fucking hilarious.
Well, the French are sure known for their comic races.
I guess, yeah.
I like that Love on the Run is it kind of feels more experimental than like the rest of them. So it feels more of a piece of like with Godard, because like I think we talked about it last week, but like the generally accepted like truism about the French New Wave is that Truffaut is the more like conventional filmmaker, even if he is like doing something a little different than the convention would dictate. Mm-hmm. But Godard is attempting to like completely circumvent convention at all times. But Love on the Run feels the most Godardian of all the Truffauts that we've watched so far. So that was just something I was thinking about there.
Yeah, that's fair. It was
yeah.
I would say I mean, besides the 400 blows, I guess even that one was fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
in its series of events, but Love on the Run definitely went with a more like outside the box approach to kind of telling you another chapter in this story, and it's the last chapter because there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no other Antoine Doinel films after this one.
That was the last one. The Jean-Pierre Léaud had, I think, worked with Truffaut after that a few more times.
I suppose Truffaut did die in 1984, so.
Well, okay, maybe not.
He wasn't. He wasn't around too much longer after this one, I guess.
I know Léaud was in Day for Night, the Truffaut movie about filmmaking, which I have not seen.
Okay.
I think Léaud plays the director character, I want to say. Or no, maybe Truffaut plays that character. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Apparently Truffaut plays a character in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Spielberg movie.
Oh.
I think Mike was talking about that.
Yeah, Mike, former friend of the pod, may he rest in peace.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
No,
he's not actually dead.
He's fine.
This is a weird joke.
I'm not even going to bother explaining the joke. It was funny when it happened. But he's fine. He
had to be there.
Yeah, he had to be there.
Yeah.
Which you couldn't have been because this is recorded after the fact, so there's no way you would have known.
And our server is not public, so.
Yeah. For many reasons.
Yes.
But we won't get
Feds, mostly.
That makes it sound like we're doing some shady shit instead of just saying really fucking questionable things.
No, like, not like federal agents, but like
feds,
random
the mindset of a Fed. Okay.
Yeah, like lowercase f, you know.
Fair enough.
Like the spiritual Fed, you know.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you play some fucking video game that we're playing, and then everyone's like, "Let's invite my friend here."
Yeah.
And then they play a game with us once, and then they never do anything, and we don't kick them out, so they could just be spying on us for all we know.
Yeah. They could be capital F Feds, but
yeah. Anyway,
yeah, c'est la vie.
Anything else to say about either of these movies? We're only like 30 minutes in.
Yeah, no, it might have to be a short episode, which is fine, you know.
Yeah.
It do be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, overall, Love on the Run, I did like. I suppose if you were to, if Truffaut were to have lived a bit longer, he might have made another movie, in the saga of Antoine. But I don't think that Love on the Run is a bad spot to end it, and it definitely feels like a sort of encapsulation of the whole thing because of all the. It's the only one that really has flashback scenes, and it brings back characters from like all eras of the guy's life, and there is like in some sense, even though Colette doesn't have the scene with him, she does kind of like reconcile her differences with him when she's talking to his ex-wife at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there is kind of like a burying the hatchet sort of thing with his past that sort of works out. And I think that it would be a good place to end the whole story.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like I had a train of thought there, and there was nothing.
there was kind of a funny moment in Love on the Run where I guess in Bed and Board he has a son with his wife. And his wife wanted to name the kid Gilan.
Yeah.
He changed it to he was Alphonse. The one that was responsible for writing the name on like the birth certificate or whatever. So he changed the name to Alphonse, even though she had wanted this other name. And then they follow up with it in this movie. The kid is still named Alphonse. She never like went back on his naming the kid that. And the kid's only very briefly in the movie, but there's like a scene where he's putting his son on a train to go like fucking, I don't know, somewhere. And he's got like his son plays
he's going for like a music camp, basically.
Something like that, yeah. Did
Yeah.
his son play like the violin or something? It was some
violin. Yeah.
couldn't
Because
remember
his mom
specifically the
teaches
That's
teaches
right.
violin.
Yes. So, and he tells his son like, "You'll be a very good musician," and then he's like, "What if I don't?" And he's like, "Well, then you'll be a good
Well,
music critic."
he said, if you practice really hard, you'll be a good musician. And he says, what if I don't? And he said, well, you'll be a music critic.
Yeah.
Which is doubly funny because Truffaut was a film critic before he was a filmmaker.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's kind of all I had, unless you, because we, hindsight 2020, we probably should have just done this all as one episode, but
yeah, I suppose
this is what it is.
the last episode we really went pretty hard into talking about the 30-minute one. Like a decent chunk of that was about that movie or that short film,
because it hit hard.
Yeah, and then they kind of like bring it all together in this one where I was actually kind of surprised when I saw that Colette was a character in that one. Oh, they're bringing her back.
Yeah.
Was she?
She has like a small cameo in Stolen Kisses.
Yeah, she's like walking down the street and he just sees her, and then nothing comes of it.
Yeah, and she like wants his phone number or something.
Chekhov's Colette.
Yeah. You think the like Chekhov's X joke would get old, but every time it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, Chekhov's penis.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Great. If you see a dick in the first act, it has to come by the third act.
Oh. Well, I don't know if that's true, but depends on the kind of movie you're watching.
Yeah. We'll have to fire up some Catherine Breillat to
Yeah, what an episode that was.
Yeah.
Shocking.
I just I ordered a DVD of this movie Bilitis, I think is how you pronounce it. Directed by David Hamilton, the photographer, and written by Catherine Breillat when she was like 20 or something.
Okay.
From like 1977.
Was she a freak then?
Presumably. She wrote a novel called A Real Young Girl, I think.
Uh-oh.
And then she directed a movie based on that novel. And my understanding is like thematically, it's like the same as all of the other Catherine Breillat movies about young girls. She's, I mentioned this on that episode of The Romance and Fat Girl that Jack had done an episode of TPN on a series of Catherine Breillat movies, and apparently she is one of those directors that's like directing the same movie every time and just kind of iterating on it.
Yeah.
You could see other directors we talked about, like Mike, maybe doing something similar. But he's also just made so many different kinds of movies, so that it's kind of hard to put him into that category. Maybe Kitano to some degree.
Refn is kind of like that because all of his movies have a very damn near silent protagonist in every film, except for like his early ones, because Pusher is very the whole trilogy is stylistically pretty different from late Refn. I think late Refn is remaking the same movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially like from Drive to Neon Demon.
Yeah,
it's that run.
Right. I think you could maybe say that it starts with Valhalla Rising because that movie has like I don't even know how many lines of dialogue are in that movie. Very little.
I think it was like 128 or something crazy.
Very low amount of hardly any dialogue. Like the first like 15 minutes of that movie, no one says a word, and Mads Mikkelsen doesn't say anything the entire movie. Wild. There's like a kid that like speaks for him a couple times. Not literally, but like he's like this little companion character. Interesting movie. I liked it. Totally unrelated to what we're doing now, obviously, but
it's been a while since I think we watched it in VC like 3 years ago or something.
Time flies.
Maybe 5 years ago at this point, because it would have been like 2019, 2020, maybe.
God.
Yeah. Different world.
A pre-COVID movie night.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Well,
anything else to add? What are we doing next week? Are we doing the?
We're talking anime. We're talking Miyazaki's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind or something like that. And the anime miniseries that was co-directed by Hideaki Anno, Gunbuster.
Yeah, was Nausicaa like the first, like one of Miyazaki's like first films?
I don't know. All I know is that Anno did one of the like key sequences in Nausicaa involving like a death laser. He like drew that scene or something. He was somewhat involved with that movie.
Okay, it seems the first movie that Hayao Miyazaki did was Lupin 3: The Castle of Cagliostro. I don't know. I've not seen any of the. I've not seen any of the Lupin movies. I know there's like it's like a very popular anime character.
Guy. I had no idea.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of it. I can't comment on it. Probably good. If it's been around for decades and there's been a shit ton of movies with the character.
Yep.
But yeah, Nausicaa and
Gunbuster.
Yes. So that'll be neat.
Yep. That'll be next week. Follow us on social media and like and comment the video on YouTube. Maybe wait until the end of the video, not 4 minutes before the end. I read that comment the other day.
Yeah.
Rate the podcast, give it a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple, and whatever. I think Libsyn puts it out on like other podcast services as well. I just don't keep track of those. I barely keep track of the main two.
Yeah.
Beyond just paying the service to do it.
Yeah, I don't look at all. I keep track of the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
I heart the comments we get, the few that we do.
Hell yeah. So make more comments, but make them like not gay,
Right, yeah. Tell us the video, how not gay the video was. We would really appreciate it.
We're on kind of a gay streak, apparently.
Yeah. That's
so we need give us a comment that says this very straight today.
Yeah. I hope this video was a bit more content rich than the last one, because apparently we spoke about the actual movies for a total of 15 minutes and then spent the rest of it jabbering.
I feel like that's not true.
That's a lie. I think I had a vague idea in the back of my mind. I was like, man, we're jabbering about a bunch of bullshit right now. That tends to be how it goes.
Yeah, no, like, watch these movies and listen to this podcast and join us next week for some anime.
Stay alive and pursue some values while you're at it, and keep living. Yeah. Anyway, unless you got anything else, I think that'll do.
I think we will call it. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see ya.